Most men don't get rejected because they don't know what to say. They get rejected because they misunderstand what is actually happening in the interaction from the beginning. They assume interest when there is only politeness. They assume uncertainty means try harder, and they assume silence means create a better approach. But attraction doesn't work like a problem you solve with better wording. It works like a dynamic you either sense correctly or you don't. And that difference decides everything. Because when you misread the situation, you don't just fail to impress. You create pressure where none existed before. And pressure is what kills natural connection, not lack of skill, not lack of confidence. Pressure. Let's get something clear first. Women don't respond to perfect questions. They respond to how they feel in your presence over time, not the sentence, not the technique, the experience. An experience is built through consistency, emotional tone, and comfort, not scripted moves. This is why two men can say the exact same words to a woman, and one creates interest while the other creates distance. It was never the sentence, it was the energy behind it, the timing, and the emotional context already built before the words were spoken. Now here's where most men go wrong. They treat attraction like a moment of decision. Like there's a specific line, a specific question, or a specific approach that will unlock intimacy. So they start optimizing their communication. They think, if I ask in the right way, she won't reject me. If I phrase it correctly, she'll feel comfortable. If I avoid pressure, she'll say yes. But this is backwards, because rejection doesn't come from wording. It comes from mismatch. Mismatch in timing, mismatch in emotional comfort, mismatch in level of connection. You can't fix mismatch with phrasing. You can only recognize it early enough to not force something that isn't there. And this is where emotional intelligence actually matters. Not manipulation, not persuasion, awareness. You start noticing patterns instead of chasing outcomes. Is she contributing to the conversation or just responding? Does she initiate questions about you or only answer yours? Does she extend the interaction or look for exits? Does she seem more relaxed as time goes on or more controlled? These things tell you more than any psychology trick ever could, because attraction is not hidden. It is expressed continuously, but quietly. Now let's talk about something important. Comfort is the real gateway to everything else. Without comfort, nothing escalates naturally. Not conversation, not emotional closeness, not physical intimacy. Comfort is not created by trying harder. It is created by removing unnecessary tension. And most unnecessary tension comes from one thing: expectation. The moment you expect a certain outcome from a woman, your behavior changes. You start performing instead of interacting. You start analyzing instead of listening. You start steering instead of flowing. And she feels it, even if nothing obvious is said, because humans are extremely sensitive to intention. Not just words, intention. That's why some conversations feel light and easy, while others feel off, even if nothing wrong is said. One is presence, the other is pressure disguised as conversation. Now here's something deeper most people don't understand. Attraction develops in layers, not jumps. There is no single moment where someone goes from not interested to fully interested like flipping a switch. It's gradual. It builds through repeated emotional experiences. Feeling understood, feeling relaxed, feeling curious, feeling safe, feeling engaged, and sometimes even feeling challenged in a comfortable way. But all of this happens over time, which is why rushing ruins it. When you rush, you skip the stages where attraction is supposed to form, and then you wonder why things feel off. It's not that you did something wrong, it's that you skipped the natural sequence of human connection. Now let's clear another misunderstanding. Many men think confidence is what creates attraction, but confidence alone is not enough, because confidence without awareness becomes pressure, and awareness without confidence becomes hesitation. Real effectiveness sits between the two. It looks like calm presence. A person who is not rushing outcomes, not overinterpreting signals, and not trying to control emotional direction. just observing what is actually happening and responding appropriately. This is what people often describe as magnetic, not because it's dramatic, but because it's stable. Now let's talk about communication itself. Most people think the goal is to ask the right question. But better communication is not about better questions. It's about better timing and emotional alignment. A question that is perfectly fine in one moment can feel completely wrong in another, because the meaning of words changes depending on emotional context. For example, the same invitation can feel exciting in a connected moment, or uncomfortable in a disconnected one. Not because the words changed, but because the emotional bridge wasn't there yet. That bridge is everything, and most men try to cross it before it exists. Now here's the shift that changes everything. Instead of asking, "What should I say to get a yes?" you start asking, "Is there already enough comfort for this to even make sense?" That question alone removes 80% of confusion, because now you are no longer trying to force outcomes. You are checking alignment, and alignment cannot be faked. It either exists or it doesn't. Another key point people miss is this. If someone is genuinely interested, you don't have to engineer responses. You only have to not interrupt what is already developing. Interest shows itself in small continuity signals. They return to conversations, they extend engagement, they show curiosity without being prompted, they remember details without effort, they create reasons to stay in contact. These are not tricks, they are natural behaviors of interest. And if they are missing consistently, then no psychological approach is going to replace them, which is actually a good thing, because it makes life simpler, not harder. Now let's address emotional escalation. A lot of confusion comes from trying to move too fast emotionally, but emotional closeness is not built through intensity. It is built through safety, plus familiarity, plus gradual openness. If any of those are missing, escalation feels forced, and forced escalation always creates resistance. That resistance is what people misinterpret as rejection. But it's not rejection of you. It's rejection of the speed, the pressure, or the timing. When you slow down and match emotional pace instead of forcing it, something interesting happens. The interaction becomes self-regulating. There is no need to push, no need to chase, no need to overcorrect. It just develops or it doesn't. And that clarity is powerful because it removes guessing. Now here is the most important idea in all of this. Attraction is not something you create in someone. It is something you either recognize is already forming or accept is not. That distinction alone changes how you interact with people because you stop trying to manufacture interest and you start observing reality. And ironically, that is what makes you more grounded, more calm, and more naturally confident. Not because you learned a trick, but because you stopped fighting reality. And when a person operates from that mindset, something shifts in how they are perceived. They feel less reactive, less uncertain, less needy, and more steady. And that steadiness is what people actually respond to. Not the script, not the question, not the technique, the steadiness. Because steadiness creates space. And in that space, if attraction exists, it grows naturally. And if it doesn't, it becomes clear early, without confusion. Either way, you win clarity, and clarity is always better than guessing.